Game 2 of the finals is in the books. The Celtics look super dominant once again, and let's get into foul trouble.
Game 2 in the books.
Are the finals over?
They feel over.
I feel like it's over.
Not a great way to start a podcast, but yeah, it feels over.
I know. I'm trying to sell our show for you all to tune in on Thursday, but I mean, I felt like yesterday was best case scenario for the Mavericks. Luka comes in, he can't miss a shot. The Celtics can't make a three, and the Celtics win by 10.
No, I'm glad we started here because that is so
that was the game.
At halftime.
I feel like the Mavericks, if you just said hey, can you independent of scheme, X's and O's, we're going to give you a hot Luka shooting game. We're going to give you a Tatum brick fest, and we're going to give you the Celtics unable to make open threes for a whole half. If you're a Mavs, you're yeah,
you take that every day of the week.
You're that's probably the blueprint for not just us to win, but for us to win by over 10 points. But instead they lose by 10. And I don't know. It feels like, I don't know where the Mavericks go from here, to be honest.
Yeah. And in that first half, so Luka finishes that half with 17 points. Kyrie only had 6, but he started off super hot from the field. He wasn't super inefficient yet.
He started super hot on very low attempts. So It honestly doesn't really matter how hot he was.
But then, and with all that, yeah, they were losing at halftime. It's not even like they were winning at halftime. And they were shooting 23% from 3. But it was just, it's everything that you could have wished if you're a Mavericks fan. And it wasn't even that competitive. And the whole thing that we've been talking about ever since we stepped in the studio today is just how insanely inefficient Jayson Tatum has been.
Yeah, but before we dunk on Tatum, let's go back to the series as a whole, because I think that's the one thing. I feel like because this series has been so non-competitive now for 2 games, I think the whole narrative and everything everyone wants to talk about is Tatum. But we only have probably 2 games left of the NBA Finals. Let's talk about the teams.
Yeah.
The Mavericks, I don't know. Do you get the same feeling that it feels like everybody except for Luka and PJ Washington? Kyrie, I guess he's still going through his motions, still taking his shot. So I don't think it's the moment's too big. I think Kyrie's just playing dog shit.
Yeah.
And it feels like PJ is kind of acclimated to the moment, but it still feels like outside of those 3 guys and maybe half of Gafford. So the Mavericks have 3.5 guys, I'd say, who seem like they're ready for the moment. The rest of the Mavs roster seems like they are not ready to come and play.
Yeah, Lively only getting up 3 shots is really rough. I think Maxi Kleber, you can tell.
Oh my dude,
his shoulder's still
the
not
airball
right.
3,
Yeah.
He just looks terrified to shoot. And that's the thing. I know he has had really good stretches of switchable perimeter defense in his career, but this version of Maxi Kleber is kind of the version I was a little worried about heading into the playoffs, where I was I don't feel like he shoots it as well. I don't think he's the same guy that they used to throw on Kawhi. I don't know.
No, he's definitely not. And then Derrick Jones Jr. has been an abject disaster throughout this series so far, other than I guess guarding Jayson Tatum. He's done a pretty decent job of that. But all of that coupled with the obvious Luka just not being 100% has made this to be I don't know. We saw after game 1 that the television ratings were not great. And I feel like this is kind of gearing up to be one of the least watched finals ever, because what is compelling about this series at this point?
Yeah, it's did you feel yesterday, obviously not toward the end of the 4th quarter, but did you feel kind of midway to the second, even in the 3rd when Luka was still hitting some just absurdly difficult shots, where you were are they about to waste an all-time finals performance? Because that's what it felt like last night. It's
at the end of the first quarter, it felt like Luka was going to get 60, 80.
I honestly felt like he could have, but I felt like this game had the same feeling to me of game 1, where Luka was okay, I'm playing pretty good. I'm making a lot of tough shots, but holy shit, no one else is doing anything. I have to try to get people involved here.
And deep into the second, it was tied, it's not the Celtics were even pulling away just yet. It didn't feel that way. It felt like every time the Mavericks scored, it was a miracle, and every time the Celtics scored, like we're leaving stuff on the table.
Yeah, and I think like that's what's interesting about the series to me is I know the Mavericks defense has been kind of an abject disaster. Like the Celtics are getting them in rotation every single possession. At any time the Celtics want to generate an open shot, they've been able to. It feels like obviously the Mavericks defense is a huge problem. Is it weird that I oddly feel like the Mavericks offense is the bigger issue?
No, I agree with you because
at least there's a world where like the Pacers series where the Pacers were like, all right, we're going to find a way to score on this Celtics defense and just make it a shootout as much as we can. And it kind of felt like that was the way the Mavericks were going to have to.
But with the Mavericks defense this series, like they held the Celtics to 105 points in this last game. I think it was 107 points in game one.
I'll put an asterisk on this game, though, because it could have been so much more.
That's
just if
true.
Sam, like, you know what I mean? I don't want to.
But what I'm getting at is it seems like what they're trying to do, they're doing successfully. It seems like they're trying to make Tatum a facilitator, not make him the scorer. And they're doing that. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if that's like how they win this series.
Yeah, you're right about the defense because regardless of shooting luck, I think to your point, it really is emblematic that the offense is the issue because if they can't even get to 107, like that's the thing. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know what the offensive adjustment is other than fucking like play better. Like yesterday I was kind of shocked that their game plan was like let's go right at Tatum. I don't think I've ever seen a Celtics game where the other team was like let's attack Jayson Tatum, but it worked.
Yeah.
I felt like that's where they got a lot of their best looks was Luka on Tatum. But I mean, even then though, a lot of the shots Luka hit on Tatum were some tough buckets that even for Luka, I don't know is like super replicable for like, another 3-4 games if they were to keep extending the series, which I just don't see how they're going to win a game. Like they had everything going for them this game.
Yeah, they had everything going for them. And it's just going to be, you got to think at this point, like they're going to Dallas now. It's going to be tense. It's going to be tight. It's winner. Like, if they don't win, it's just done in game 3. And I don't know, just all these guys have a reason to have, like, a lot of, like, pressure on them to perform other than, like, you want that pressure on your stars. You don't want that pressure on your role players.
Yeah, I mean, I think, though, the one time where I feel like the pressure is getting to the stars, and maybe it's just the make or miss thing, but I felt like in the OKC series where Kyrie wasn't scoring as much, he was doing a really good job of kind of like playing in the flow of the offense, letting things come naturally. I felt like in the Timberwolves series, it was kind of the same thing, even though he ratcheted up the scoring. I feel like it's not just that Kyrie's missing shots. Like, he's taking, like, mid-range step back with 18 seconds on the shot clock. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the shots he's taking are really, really bad. And it feels like he's kind of like, fuck it, I got to hit a tough one so I can get myself going. And it's like, dude, I know you guys aren't getting anything good deep in the shot clock, but man, that's a bad shot.
Yeah. I mean, like, vet Kyrie is a different Kyrie than we've seen in other, like, portions of his career. But I don't think he's like exempt from the group that we've been kind of indicating towards of. It seems like he was bothered by the crowd, maybe not necessarily the moment, but just like all the aesthetics around this series have seemed to throw Kyrie off. He hasn't had that same focus, even when he's not scoring, like what you said, that we've seen throughout this playoffs that have sparked conversations of like, just like putting Kyrie amongst the like best of the best point guard performers that we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like yesterday he did have some nice like flow of the offense. Like he had a really nice dump down to Gafford when he picked up a double team. He had another really nice pass, I forget when, but I just feel like he's taking so many shots early in the shot clock that are not good shots.
Yeah.
And
one of these games, the Celtics or the Mavericks are going to hit their threes.
Are they?
Maybe. I mean, just by math, you got to think. But they've already lost the 2 games where the Celtics haven't hit like what we've expected them to hit.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like in game 1, I know the numbers didn't say it. I did feel like the Celtics did have that stretch where it felt like they couldn't miss, though.
Yeah,
So even though at
especially
the
in
end
that
of the
first
game
quarter.
the numbers bared out that way, I felt like, that game was kind of over by the time the numbers bared out. But like, yeah, game 2, I mean, just not even being able to pull away by like 8 points, like not even by like 10, just by like 3 buckets worth.
And like, I mean, so I feel like we've got to talk about Jrue Holiday.
Well, wait, before we get to the Celtics, there's one more number though that I feel like if you're the Mavericks, because I harped on this a lot in the second round, free throws. The Mavericks actually could have won this game if they made their free throws.
Yes, so they shot 16 for 24 from the free throw line, and the Celtics shot 19 for 20 from the free throw line.
Yeah, and when Derrick White blocked PJ Washington, that was going to make it, what, a 3-point game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those in the OKC series, they lost a game simply because they didn't make their free throws. And this is the same thing. I wouldn't say they lost today because they didn't make their free throws, but like, you make those free throws and you put yourself in a real chance to win the game.
It's very like LeBron-esque to have a team that kind of sinks or swims so much by their free throws.
Yeah, and I think like we'll get to Tatum, I think, at the end of giving everyone else on the Celtics their flowers, but I think though, like the reason why I think all of us, even with how much of a fucking mess the Mavericks look like in these games, is like why I think we'd still probably pick them if it was tied with a minute left, is because if they had made their free throws and it was tied and the Celtics bring the ball up and it's like, all right, well, Tatum's 6 of 100 and Jaylen Brown hasn't done anything this whole half. Like, all right, I guess we're going to play. You know what I mean? The Celtics, because their offense is so egalitarian and it's so beautiful for 47 minutes, I still do think it does lead to that awkward moment at the end of the game where it's like, wow, we've had 47 minutes of our role players playing way better than our stars. What do we play through here?
Yeah.
Which I think is really good over the course of 48 minutes, and I think it's why the Celtics are such a good team, and I think it is a natural reason why sometimes they can look a little unorganized in clutch time. But like, if you don't hit your free throws, you don't even give yourselves a chance to make the Celtics be in that position.
And it's not like they're like getting to the line enough to be able to afford missing any free throws.
Yep.
The Celtics are so disciplined that like it's so few and far between those opportunities.
You know what? I don't know. Like, I think a proper shooting coach would be able to diagnose this better, but it's crazy. Like Luka's platform on his 3-point shot. Like sometimes it's like 1 foot 3, sideways foot 3, feet are planted properly 3. Like I feel like I saw Luka make threes from like 10 different shooting platforms yesterday.
No, I mean he can like literally lay on the ground and make a 3.
Yeah, it's like Luka's ability to make a shot regardless of his platform is like, it's honestly one of the most insane shot making facets of any star in the NBA. But I wonder if that is why his free throw percentage is a little bit lower than for someone like, because he's such a good shooter.
Yeah.
Like literally he's like what, one of the best mid-range shooters statistically in the whole league. It's weird that he's like a 70% ish free throw shooter.
I often wonder, like, I thought the same thing about LeBron in his, like, worst free throw shooting portions of his career. And I wonder if it's just, like, those are bigger players. And traditionally, the bigger you are, the harder it's going to be to make a free throw. Because it's just, like, so easy to shoot it flat. But I don't know. It is weird.
Yeah, free throw shooting is the weirdest thing in the NBA. I'm only bringing this up because it's like the weirdest statistical anomaly. But do you remember like Russell Westbrook used to be like an 85% free throw shooter?
Yeah.
And then the NBA banned the free throw shooter being able to walk to half court, which was his routine. And like ever since then, he's been like a sub 70% free throw shooter. And I like, it's so weird how free throws are this like facsimile of the game where all these players who can be like great shooters in other aspects can't just make a free throw.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Kyrie at some point of this series is going to have to make a 3. That's the other thing. He's 0 for 8 right now, which is like all time like bad for first 2 games of a final series.
Okay. Anything else on the Mavs before we get more to the Celtics?
I guess my one other question for the Mavs is like, we haven't talked about Jason Kidd's proclamation about Jaylen Brown being the best player on the team.
You mean the best take of the week?
Possibly the best take of the week. What do you think was behind that? Do you think it was gamesmanship?
It was definitely gamesmanship, but it was also so obviously gamesmanship that I feel like it low-key backfired.
Yeah, well, did it though?
Oh, you think Tatum?
It's kind of the perfect segue into the Celtics, but like he shot even worse yesterday than he did in game one after like literally the entire talk of the NBA over the day before the game was like, oh, who is the best player? Jason Kidd says it's Jaylen Brown instead of Jayson Tatum. And even Jrue Holiday said it was Jaylen Brown instead of Jayson Tatum.
It is Jaylen Brown. We're watching the games. We watched the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how many games in a row Jaylen Brown, how many finals games going back to the Golden State series, by the way.
It's 8 now.
Yeah, it's 8 now. I don't know how many games in a row Jaylen Brown needs to be clearly better than Jayson Tatum before everyone realizes that Tatum isn't that guy on the team anymore. Like, he's just not the best player on the team. It's like it's obvious when you watch the games.
Yeah, the stats are so close. It's weird that just the NBA like fan community has just doubled down on like, this is their guy. This is the guy that is going on all of the like.
I think it's just because so many Jayson Tatum fans, and like I hear it a lot in other podcasts, just feel like he's like really unfairly criticized. But I feel like all the criticism is really fair.
Yeah,
like he's playing horribly on not complete. Like I don't want to say horribly as like an all in. I do think his rebounding has been really good in both games. And I know sometimes I feel like rebounding is like the third facet of basketball. Everyone's like, oh, rebounding, whatever. But like, you know, with Josh Hart in the Sixers series, you see how valuable rebounding is. I thought Tatum is.
I'm a huge rebounding guy.
I think Tatum also is doing a really good job of getting past his initial defender and getting the Mavs in rotation, because that is what's leading to a lot of Celtics threes. But I think like why I don't want to give him like, I don't want to say I don't want to give him too much credit, but it's not like he's making these crazy advanced kick out passes or cross court corner reads. Like he's making really basic, like one, you know what I mean? It's just really basic driving kick that like any NBA player could do if they get past their guy.
Well, if I have a superstar wing, I don't care what kind of defense is standing there. I don't care if Daniel Gafford is sitting under that rim. Like you are 6'10". I need you to finish at like even a like sub 500 rate. I can't have you dip all the way to 34%. I can't have you dip all the way to 26% from the field. Like, what are we playing in the 1950s?
Yeah, like I don't know. Like this is the other thing in the regular season too. Is like when we were doing our All NBA teams, and I was kind of shocked that everyone just penciled him in for first team. I was like, LeBron is shooting better at the rim, like Kawhi's shooting better at the rim, Durant's shooting better at the rim. Like all three of those guys were shooting better from mid range. All three of those guys were shooting better from three. And it's like, okay, so maybe not Kawhi, but like Durant and LeBron are playing in these like way worse environments for them to play efficiently, and they're both shooting way more efficiently. Why is Tatum just penciled in ahead of them? I never understood that.
Best player, best team, I guess.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just feel like Tatum, and I think this is like where he's always been a really frustrating player, is like I feel like his like supporters are always just like, well, look at the success, and it's like, look at the fucking roster around him. Like, just I don't know. Like we talked about in our group chat, like what happens if you replace him with Zion Williamson? I think Zion would shoot like 80% at the rim on that team.
Yeah. I mean, the way he's getting to the rim too, he can pull up for a mid-range jumper. It's not going to go in right now, but it's going to be wide open. And we saw that even in the fourth quarter. He had like a wide open mid-range jumper that would have pushed the lead to 7 that he rimmed out. And it's just like over and over again. And like, I will give you credit. Like 12 assists with only 3 turnovers. That's awesome. But like what we keep coming back to with the level of talent around you, like I can only give you so much, you know?
Yeah. Like that's the thing. It's like he had 12 assists. He probably could have had like 16 if he just took away like 6 of his own shot attempts that he didn't need to take. Because I think it's not just that he's missing what shots he should be making if he really is the 6th best player in the NBA, like some people say he is. But it's like, you don't need to shoot 19 times when the rest of your team is getting it going.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I want to go more into like just what this means for Tatum in a second, but I think we can step away from him for a second and talk about who really, really made the difference for the Celtics in this game. And that was Jrue Holiday.
Yeah.
26 points in 41 minutes for him, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and 0 turnovers. Jrue Holiday was such a huge part of what made Kyrie Irving's night so tough. He had so many possessions guarding Luka Doncic, which is just like an impossible assignment to deal with. Has he put himself in the
Finals MVP
pole position for Finals MVP?
I don't know, because you know what the thing is though with the Celtics is like I feel like you could make a really good case for him, Jaylen Brown, or Kristaps Porzingis. I know Porzingis wasn't as loud today, but like again, some huge and I think for Porzingis there's no way because he's playing such limited minutes. But like when he's out there, it's like he's always getting blocks. Mm-hmm. They had a couple possessions yesterday where like, ah, shit, okay, give it to Porzingis. He's just gonna score, and he literally just scores every time he has the basketball.
12 points, 23 minutes, 2 blocks, 4 rebounds. It's like he's just stuffing the stat.
Yeah, I think Holiday. I mean, I think Brown was kind of quiet in the second half of that game yesterday, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it feels like the rest of the series is just the battle for who's gonna win Finals MVP, right?
I guess, okay, so if Jrue Holiday is number 1 because the Celtics have won 2 games,
yeah,
I kind of feel like Luka's number 2, even though I'm not going to give it to him if they get swept. But I'm just like,
I mean, if
he's
I'm
been
doing
the best player in this series by far.
Yeah, if I'm doing the objective ranking of the players, it's Luka by a fucking mile right now.
And then I guess Jaylen Brown, number 3.
But you know what? That one possession too, where Jaylen Brown completely prevented Irving from even moving forward an inch, really invigorated the crowd. And also I feel like that was also when the Celtics kind of started to be like, okay, let's pull away right before halftime.
Jaylen Brown has come so far in terms of containing Kyrie Irving. This is the 3rd playoff series that we've seen against him. And in the previous 2, I know the Celtics kind of have dominated this matchup for the most part, but I feel like Kyrie, for the most part, could still get to wherever he wanted on the court, and it's not like that in this series.
Jaylen Brown isn't letting him move.
He is the aggressor. I've been so impressed with the possessions that Jaylen Brown has had on Kyrie Irving. But then you've got Derrick White just lurking around, 2 blocks in this game, but he's like Derek Lively out there, just protecting the rim. He's been incredible.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I swear they interviewed Jrue Holiday after the game and they're like, what did you think of Derek White's block? And I swear he said something like, we were up 7. It didn't really matter. I don't know if I misheard him. Could someone correct me and tweet at me if I completely misheard him? But I was laughing so hard. It's by the way, I'm Finals MVP.
Yeah. It didn't matter. The plays that I made were so much more consequential to our victory.
You know what I thought Jrue did really, really well too in that game was in the beginning of the game when it felt like the Celtics couldn't make a 3 as a team. I thought Jrue did a really good job of being I have a semi-open 3 that I would normally take, but I'm going to try to get past the closeout guy and get a layup just to keep the offense moving. And he had 2 of those in the first half that I felt really kind of kept the Celtics in the game.
I mean, yeah, that's a great call. Yeah, he was 9 for 9 in the restricted area. He was just and Luka is matched up on him a lot. And it's not the physical toll that Luka is going to take if he was guarding a Jayson Tatum or something. But it's really annoying for Luka to have to constantly be running around with Jrue Holiday when he also has to be Superman on the other side of the court.
Yeah. And I mean, Celtics are a really good team.
Celtics are a really good team.
I don't know. Did you feel like Peyton Pritchard was going to make that shot? I felt like there was no way he wasn't going to make it.
I don't know.
I don't know why. He's one of those dudes where I feel like I never see Peyton Pritchard miss a shot. Yeah. So when I saw him bringing the ball up, I was like, someone guard him. Someone fucking guard him. Please guard him.
At the end of quarters, he does have some Jordan Clarkson to him that it's yeah, that's probably going in most of the time. Okay, can I give my slanderous Jayson Tatum stat now?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jayson Tatum has played 8 finals games. Obviously, that's over the course of 2 final series. He is averaging 19 field goal attempts per game.
That's a lot.
For all players that have averaged at least that many field goal attempts over an 8-game finals span, he has the worst field goal percentage with 35%. Second worst, his mentor, Kobe Bryant. Who had a 36% 8-game span over the course of 2004 to 2008, those finals games. And Kobe has
so spanning between the Pistons and the first Celtics series.
Yes.
Okay.
So and Kobe has 7 of these 13 qualifying worst 8-game final spans, but Tatum has laid out the resume to be the
worst finals chucker of all time.
Shot chucker in finals history. And that needs to be said.
Okay. Can we put the Jayson Tatum belongs anywhere near the top 6 argument to bed?
Yeah.
Officially. Regardless of what happens the rest of the series.
I was saying before this series started that it didn't matter what Jayson Tatum did. He
exactly.
could not end up in top 5 territory.
Okay, the thing is, I'm trying not to be overly reaction. I mean, that's so bad.
This is the finals.
I'm trying not to be overly reactionary, but I'm also trying to really rationalize. I just close my eyes. I'm like, all right, let me take Zion, put him on his spot. Let me take, I don't know. I'm trying not to put an elderly player like a Durant, but I don't know, any one of these Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
Could I put literally any of these guys in that spot and
put Devin Booker in there? What's happening? Put Donovan Mitchell there. I know they're smaller players. What's happening? Those guys are absolutely eating.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The thing is, it's not just this series. To your point, it's the other series too.
But you know what, James? You're saying you're trying not to be reactionary. So much of NBA talk nowadays is all about what is this guy gonna look like in the playoffs? What is can this guy be the best guy on a finals team? I'm sorry, the one time, in my opinion, that we can be hyper reactionary about the results, about what is real, what really happened, is when guys are playing in the NBA freaking finals, because it doesn't get more real than that.
That's true.
And he has been consistently awful from a scoring perspective. And he's supposed to be one of the best scorers in the league.
That's true. Okay, so what are we doing? Are we just switching him and Jaylen Brown? Are we putting Brown at 8, 9 and putting Tatum at 20? What are we doing with these guys?
I don't know. I do value the regular season. That is a thing. You got to do a lot to get to this point.
I tend to value the playoffs a bit more.
I do as well.
I think Jaylen Brown is clearly their better player.
Yeah. I see. I would put them both kind of around the same place.
But see, I feel like if you took away last year's Eastern Conference Finals, this wouldn't even, which I guess isn't fair because we're factoring in Tatum's bad series. But I feel like with Tatum, it's 2 really, really bad final series, and Jaylen Brown has had the one really, really bad Eastern Conference Finals. But I feel like Jaylen Brown's just been better for 3 years now in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean Tatum saved them in that Sixers series last year.
That's exactly what
that's Tatum's biggest playoff moment is saving them in the Sixers series. But in a way, I almost feel like that's encapsulates what's wrong with Jayson Tatum is if he's not on the good side of being his streaky self, he's kind of a bad player.
He was also really, really good in the Milwaukee series a couple years ago. 2 years ago that they won on their road to the finals. But I mean, it's just, and it's not like Jayson Tatum's being guarded by Kawhi Leonard in these series. He's facing up against Andrew Wiggins and PJ Washington, which sure, Andrew Wiggins was levitating out of his body and having the best stretch of his career at the time. But you're Jayson Tatum. Nothing that Andrew Wiggins can do will put him into Hall of Fame conversations.
Yeah.
That's just not who that guy is. And this is what you're giving us.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the first time a player wins the finals and everyone's like, ugh.
I know. See, this is the ultimate test of did you watch the games? Because there's going to be people that are oh, Jayson Tatum's awesome. He's the best player on the best team, won the finals. But if you actually watch the games,
Oh, he was definitely. It's crazy because we ranked the players, right? If we were to redraft the players based on how they're playing in the series, he would go 6th, 7th.
that is a weird question. If we're like redrafting the team,
You want to redraft
yeah, just with what
we've seen the first 2 games.
Yeah,
We'll go rapid fire.
okay.
Luka,
Jaylen Brown,
Jrue,
Chris Tapps,
Derrick White.
Then I guess Jayson Tatum.
Yeah, then I guess Tatum. Yeah. So he went from.
And then Kyrie Irving.
Oh, I don't know. Would I take Gafford over Irving right now?
I know. Oh, Kyrie.
Kyrie has been really bad. That's the thing is I feel like Tatum is like I know everyone is dunking on Kyrie, but like people are posterizing Tatum, so everyone's kind of forgetting that Kyrie has been worse than Tatum.
This series sucks.
This
series sucks so
negative.
bad.
I hate how all we're doing is being negative. Like Jrue Holiday.
What's there to be positive about?
All right, here's what we should be positive about. Jrue Holiday was awesome. We already said that.
Yeah,
We already said Porzingis was awesome.
Jrue Holiday might be solidifying his golden jacket. I know that the NBA doesn't do golden jackets, but if he wins the Finals
But maybe
MVP,
he could convince them to do that.
yeah, maybe he could. He's a nice guy. Yes, no, keep going.
No, I mean, yeah, the series does suck. I mean, the thing is, this series is it was really predictable. I mean, everything that we kind of highlighted in our preview is kind of what happened. And I don't like pretend to be some sort of X's and O's NBA level coach genius, but this series was like very obvious in terms of like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Like, I think that's what made this series a little boring from the onset compared to like a Minnesota Dallas series where I was like, before game 1, I was like, I don't know possession by possession what this series is actually going to like look like. Whereas with this series, I was like, I kind of know what this series is going to look like.
Yeah, and I think like we were sold a series that was a lot closer than the reality of what we got because of the Celtics' path to the finals was a little wonky. But at the end of the day, this team has lost 20 games, including the regular season. It's kind of like statistically bared out the way the statistics
It should. Yeah,
indicated it would.
I guess we'll do like what this means in the bigger sense at the end. But if the Celtics sweep or win in 5, like, and they're a 2 or a 3 loss playoff team, that's going to put them in like greatest playoff runs ever.
Oh yeah,
because like last year the Nuggets had 4 losses on their way to the championship. So I looked it up, and it was like, okay, so if you have 4 losses, that means you're like a pretty good but not all-time great playoff run. If you have 2 losses, which the Celtics it looks like are heading toward, that's like an all-time playoff run. And obviously 10 years from now, no one's going to remember the path. But I mean, man,
yeah,
it's so hard. This is a weird series. It's so hard not to be like, holy shit, the Boston Celtics are fucking amazing. They're an amazing team. They would have probably beaten most of I would say they would have beaten the other teams in the East if they were healthy, but we didn't see it. But I think it's fair to say they probably would have.
Yeah, most likely. I gotta say, I did find myself thinking, like, damn, I want to see that Milwaukee series still.
Yeah, and I know
That,
Milwaukee
like,
was a mess
Dame and
all
Giannis.
year, but Giannis has always kind of been an issue for them. Yeah, I think that's the weird thing about the Celtics is 10 years from. I think you know a lot of the times, and I was kind of wondering like, what about this season and like last season and kind of the season before it? Because you know what I mean, like you see the viewership numbers, and I think because we're all on the heels of the like Golden State Warriors, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, San Antonio Spurs, these kind of like 4 dynasty, individual dynasties. I think the years where we have a new champion or a champion that's like a one-time champion, it almost feels like we're not watching history. We're watching like a footnote season. Mm-hmm. And it kind of feels like the seasons where it's like the back-to-back champion or like the finals, they feel more historical.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? And I think that's kind of why there is also this weird like, around this whole.
Yeah, this whole just run of new champion.
Yeah, and I think also with the Celtics, I think this is another thing too, is like I know everyone says we're going to forget 10 years from now that like, oh, so-and-so was injured and so-and-so was injured, but that's 10 years from now. Right now, we all remember that the Celtics got a free ticket to the finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't take away from how good of a team they are, but it does take away from, I think, the excitement a lot of people are going to have about them winning.
You know, I was ready to overlook it. Now it makes me question, like, what is this Mavericks team? You know, like, is this Mavericks team closer to, like, the 06 Cavs than the, I don't even know, like, some other, like, super ISO
This series feels like the 07 Cavs versus the 07 Spurs to me.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like.
My question is, what happened to the Lob City Mavs?
Yes.
Like, genuinely, what happened? Like, did they just figure out how to turn that faucet off?
Yeah, they're switching it. Because you guys played the drop and let Luka attack downhill. They just switch everything. But you guys wouldn't switch because you guys just didn't want the bigs onto the Luka.
Okay.
You guys meaning the Minnesota
Timberwolves.
Timberwolves. For
all right, I have a hot
fans
take
out there.
The Minnesota Timberwolves ruined the NBA
Okay, hold on.
by beating the Denver Nuggets.
I don't know.
That's my
Whoa.
take. You guys ruined the NBA Finals.
Could we just be going into an era
That's
in
my
NBA
take.
history where there's a bunch of San Antonio Spurs dynasties where, like, we have 3 or 4 teams, maybe it's the Celtics, the Nuggets, and I don't know who else, the Timberwolves, take whatever team, and they each win 2 or 3 championships over the course of 10 years, opposed to anyone getting a back-to-back.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
My
Which I
take
think is
is that
exciting.
the Mavs ruined the finals by beating the Timberwolves.
My
If you
take-
want to play that game?
You have the counter take?
Yeah, because
Yeah, my take is that the Timberwolves ruined the finals.
Yeah, no, I
by
think the
beating
Timberwolves
Suns.
ruined the finals by beating the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets would be putting up a real fight here.
okay, but my thought is legitimately, like, if you take away the Lob City, like, whole thing that the Mavs were doing, and you take away Luka's, like, freakish spammy 3-point shots, what are the Mavs without that? I mean, obviously you have Kyrie, who in theory should be, like, killing it, but is not.
What's crazy though is they're
So
not
it's
even
like-
taking away Luka's threes. Luka's been hitting threes.
Yeah,
I guess he
Luka has. No one else has.
Yeah, Luka
Right,
has been
right.
awesome.
I mean, that was my whole, like, concern troll at the trade deadline about the PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford trades.
Yeah.
Of, like, first round pick for both of them, pretty much, like, takes first round picks off the menu for the Mavericks going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And is that going to be enough to win a championship? And maybe against a different opponent, yes. But this Celtics team, I think, like what James said, I just think that they're one of the
Best teams.
best teams that we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think we've been all year. You said the Celtics are the best team, and all year I had them number 2. So I mean, regardless of the path they took, we both had them as either the best or the second best team all season.
Yeah. And what I was really, I thought about this a lot watching this last game is I think how this Celtics team will eventually be remembered is, like, truly, I think this is, like, the most versatile team of all time. Like, from top to bottom, all these guys, in a way that even, like, the Warriors teams weren't versatile, in, like, all these guys, you are okay handling the ball. They are all super, super switchable. Even their big men are switchable. And it's a level of versatility that we've all, like, pontificated about over the last couple years of, like, could that 76ers team with Al Horford be this, like, ultimate switchy Rubik's Cube? Could, the Warriors eventually, like, turn into that if Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga all pan out? And we haven't really seen the ultimate version of that, in my opinion, until right now. And it's so versatile that they just don't need a superstar to push the tide over for them to be this dominant team.
And
Yeah.
James, I think you're right. If Tatum's shot attempts went, like, down, like, dramatically down, you would just be like, oh, wow, this is a great team basketball that we're seeing. Like, everybody's contributing. Tatum's getting all these assists, all these rebounds. But since he is shooting so much and missing so much, he is just, like, hurting himself.
Yeah,
It's really
it's so-
glaring.
I'll tell you, I changed the filters for that search. Even of players averaging 15 shot attempts per game, he still has the worst field goal percentage.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're a great team. I think that's the one thing is I think as fun as it is to make fun of Tatum at times for all the goofy stuff he does, like they're a great team. And even when his shot isn't falling, he does contribite in other ways. So I think it is important to say that. But all right, I think that's everything on this series. I mean, for now.
Yeah, for now. We'll see. Everything could change. A series doesn't start until someone wins on the road.
That's true. The Celtics better enjoy this because Wembanyama's coming.
Yeah, he is. I mean, hey, Luka's coming. Luka's here for the first time.
Can Luka play for the Spurs?
Feels a little early. Oh my God. That sounds like all of my childhood trauma bottled up in one team.
I think
wow,
it's illegal to
crazy.
switch from one Texas team to another Texas team.
Is it?
I'm sure it's been done before.
Yeah, I can't think of any Rockets, Mavs, Spurs
It feels
switch
illegal.
ups. Yeah, it doesn't feel right.
I don't know. I'd have to chew on that.
Ooh, T-Mac.
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 Did play on the Spurs and the Rockets. That is true. Is it time for best take, worst take?
Best take, worst take. Every week, Patrick and I find the best and worst takes of the NBA landscape. And at the end of the episode, we rank which was the worst take of the week. At the end of the month, we say what is the worst take of the month. Guys, we have one more best take, worst take. And then we are doing the best and worst takes of the year
Wow.
awards.
That's exciting.
Should we do the awards episode next week? Because I feel like the series is going to be over.
Possibly. We also have a pretty big event in the NBA calendar coming up.
Oh, the draft.
The NBA draft that will be here before you know it.
Okay, I feel like assuming the series is over, I kind of feel safe saying that.
Yeah, probably. But, I'm actually the fan of a team that went up 2-0 in two not very close games, and then my team lost the next 4 games. So
All right,
it's always on the menu.
I have a hot take. Jayson Tatum will shoot over 42% next game.
Whoa.
Wow.
On 6 shot attempts.
I mean, he better.
What happens if he doesn't?
I mean,
Jail.
nothing. Yeah, jail.
We need to normalize sending players.
loses-
to
Yeah,
jail.
we need NBA
He
jail.
loses custody of Deuce.
Oh, geez. Okay. Okay, my best take goes to Jason Kidd, who said Jaylen Brown is the best player on the Celtics.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
What's your best take? Who had your best take?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't have that on
Queued
in
up?
my candidates. I also had Lonzo Ball went on a podcast and said Victor Wembanyama might be the best defensive player we've ever seen. Love that. I also love. Did you see how Kyrie?
I love that take because it's full circle. I remember, when we first started this podcast, everyone just accused us of glazing Victor every episode.
I know. I mean, that wasn't the first 3 weeks of the season, but those takes.
Oh, we're still
aged
here,
well.
guys. We're still
Yeah.
Victor boys.
We're still here. And then I liked Kyrie addressing LeBron's comments of how he misses playing with him and Kyrie said, LeBron knows how to make a social media firestorm. And it's yeah, he does like to make everything about himself. But I think,
I have another best take.
what is it?
LeBron James unfollowing Kendrick Perkins,
I
saving
saw that.
himself from that brain rot.
I mean, Kendrick Perkins, just like Jesus, people.
That was a worst take.
People
nominee.
unfollowed Jesus. But yeah, we should give it to Jason Kidd. It kind of defined this weekend of NBA basketball. Well, Jaylen Brown's their best player. What did you have for a worst take?
Okay, not really an NBA take, but I feel like I have to dip my toes into discourse. There's only one thing on this planet more annoying than Jayson Tatum ranking, and it's Caitlin Clark. Discussion, not her herself. I like Caitlin Clark. But yeah, the women's team leaving her off the national team, I think it's completely idiotic. I think the women's game finally has a chance to really grow, and they're doing everything in their power to not grow. It doesn't make sense. I think I've seen a lot of people be like, well, she's not one of the best 12 players. Okay, tell me Anthony Davis is one of the best 12 players in the world in 2010. Tell me Christian Laettner is one of the best 10 players in the world in 1996. People who are sending those tweets are completely ignorant to the history of Olympic United States basketball. It's never been about that.
I mean, Diane Taurasi is not one of the best 12 players.
No, also,
Right
I
now.
saw a stat that Caitlin Clark's made more threes than I think all of them but Sabrina. Hello, modern basketball. You want spacing. It's way better to have 4 stars in a spacer than it is to just have 5 stars.
Well, the other excuse,
Like it's idiotic. It doesn't even make sense from an X's and O's standpoint. It doesn't make sense from a trying to grow the game standpoint. It's just stupid.
yeah, the other excuse that was out there in the ether was Team USA was worried that her fans would get upset because she wouldn't be in line to get playing time.
What do you think is going to make them more upset?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's like, I get it. And kind of all the points that they're giving are inarguable. It's like, yeah, maybe she's not, but like, what is basketball but entertainment? And everybody will watch your games if she is sitting on the bench, even. And why deny us of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it either because like I also with the Olympic team, I also don't really. I don't know. Am I weird? I think it's weird that neither Olympic team did tryouts. I don't know. I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
like they used to.
Like
what changed where now we don't have to do tryouts? I guess for the NBA,
well, I think they might have. I can't say that they
didn't. I know because Irving was like, why didn't I get to try out? Because him versus Halliburton and Brunson versus Halliburton. Like, I don't know. I do think it is weird that Jalen Brunson didn't even get an opportunity to be like, I'm one of the best players. I should be on this team.
I know in the past, Team USA's kind of standpoint on that is like, we are trying to get people to build up a program. So we want people to commit to multiple years in the Team USA system. So like Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson are being rewarded for playing in the World Cup over a guy like Kyrie Irving that didn't want to play in the World Cup, but was interested in playing in the Olympics.
Yeah, but then we have the mercenary team this year.
Hey,
I don't know. I think USA basketball on the men's side, but I'm not really going to quit. Okay, Halliburton's not going to play a lot on this team.
yeah, no.
I don't think it's fun to quibble about that. But like on the women's side, like what a fumble. What an absolute fumble.
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot less exciting.
No one's going to watch.
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot less exciting.
I guess what I don't understand is like everyone knows who's in the NBA and the WNBA, like to increase your salary cap, your league needs to make more revenue. To make more revenue, you need to grow the game. And it's just doing a disservice to like literally every WNBA player to not have her on the team.
That's an interesting take.
Like you're actually actively hurting everyone on the team by not having her on the. It's idiotic. There's literally no argument because the precedent set by the men's team in the past.
Yeah. And I mean, what made the NBA a global game? It was having the biggest stars. It was having Michael Jordan.
Yeah, the biggest stars go to the other guy.
It was having Larry Bird when he was at the end of his rope in the original Dream Team.
Also, one other big thing about the like she's not one of the best players argument, which like one, we don't even know if that's true or not, but two, this isn't like the men's side where like we're going against Nikola Jokic and Giannis and fucking all these great players. The women's side is a joke internationally.
They're gonna go undefeated.
Roll the other countries. What are we talking about?
We
could probably field a D1 team and still win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably even with only college players.
Yeah. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? This is crazy.
My worst take of the week goes to Kendrick Perkins, who went on Scoop B's podcast this last week. Scoop B.
Scoop B.
Scoop B is like kind of like a OG, like internet, like I'm an insider. Like,
okay.
I'm an insider. I'm definitely an insider.
I'm Adam Schefter.
And he said he was talking. He basically said he was a better defender than Rudy Gobert. And quote, if you go back and watch the film, I showed up in the big moments. Which is just like...
Wasn't he injured?
I mean, he was injured in some gigantic moments. But also, like, dude, shut up. Like, you are never anywhere near the conversation of Defensive Player of the Year. I get that, like, it's really easy to take shots at Rudy Gobert. But, like, you are not anywhere near his ilk of player, in my opinion.
Ooh, I have a take.
Give it to me.
I think Rudy Gobert took a huge W last night.
Ooh, why?
Because the Mavericks pick and switch Jayson Tatum onto Luka over and over again, and he kept scoring. Is that not a feather in the cap of Gobert to be like, look, it's not me, it's nobody?
Yeah, it's not
It's
as
not
easy
me.
as it might look.
Yeah. I don't know.
Love this take.
I thought it was kind of. I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about it last night. I was like, no one is going to slander Jayson Tatum for the fact that he's getting ISO'd repeatedly. They only did that to Gobert like twice.
Yeah, and Tatum is like has way more like lateral movement and is way more like nimble and agile. He has no excuse.
Uncommon Gobert W.
Really makes you think. Really makes you think. Okay, so I don't know. Look, I guess we can give it to the
Have
Team
we
USA.
ever given Kendrick Perkins a worst take yet, though?
It feels like we have, but I'd have to check the records.
See, this is one where though I feel like the women's team had the worst take of the week, but to honor the legacy of Perk, I'm kind of willing to give it to Perk.
Okay, hey, I brought this here for our
Max, what do you think?
enjoyment.
I mean, I'm a Caitlin Clark boy. And
Yeah, I like Caitlin Clark.
He's an Iowa kid.
But I do feel like she's going to be on Team USA
In the next
probably 3 times in her career, and
Yeah.
maybe it just wasn't ready. We weren't ready for it yet.
I think Deanna Taurasi's too insecure to be on the same team as her. That's my take.
Whoa. Back off my girl DT.
We can give it to Perk.
Legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy. All right, congratulations, Perk.
Right.
You have won the worst take of the week.
All right. Oh, Max. So Matt, we're having Max prepare the worst take bracket. The way we're going to do it is we have the 8 worst takes of the landscape, obviously the worst take of the month every month. And on the other side of the bracket, we have me and Patrick's worst takes of the year. Should we seed the bracket so that me and Patrick are on one side and the other takes are on the other side? Or should we do like Patrick take, bad take, James take, bad take, like that? Because I think we have been kind of gathering me and you worst takes, and I don't want to toot our own horns, but none of them are on the level as
We might just if
like
you
most
guys,
of our bad takes are like for example, like incorrectly predicting a series is one of our worst takes. We haven't had a lot of like real hoopers know Kyrie's better than Luka, which by the way, that is aging like spoiled milk.
Wow, that is aging crazy. That was our first one.
See, that one has a real benefit of going right after the finals. Because real hoopers, if they still think Kyrie Irving is better than Luka, then I don't know. I don't think real hoopers know basketball.
This is a perfect time to say, if you guys have in mind like a terrible take that one of us made, like please comment.
Yes, please
or, like,
comment the dumbest
message
things we've said.
us just to remind us of it. Because we are trying to get the worst of what we have said over the course of the year.
We'll figure out how specifically we want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what the best way to do it is.
I think we should do like us, them, because I do think I don't think me and Patrick's takes. I know for a fact neither of us have had a take as stinky as real hoopers know Kyrie is better than Luka.
That is true. And the people are listening right now and thinking like, that's a great take. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
No, people are like, do you not remember when James said that Tyrese Maxey was better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? You guys don't remember that?
Do you not remember when Patrick said that Devin Booker was going to win MVP?
Do you guys not remember when?
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's all we've got today. We'll be back after Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Maybe we'll have something more exciting about.
Game 3 is on Wednesday.
Game 3 is on Wednesday. But either way, the NBA is not going to sleep anytime soon. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. I would assume we're going to know the conclusion of what happens with the Lakers coaching search by Wednesday. So that will be interesting.
I think Dan Hurley said he was going to make his decision by this Monday.
Yeah, so I mean,
later today, probably?
Later today, hopefully. The Lakers are trying to get that Monday story in. And then, I don't know. The NBA never sleeps, I'm sure.
I think it's going to go to sleep. It might go to sleep before Game 4.
No, but then we just jump into the draft.
You think people are waking up for the draft this year?
I think the draft... In what I've looked at, I think the draft is so flat in terms of like
talent
distribution that teams are going to be able to talk themselves into certain guys And I think it might really cause some like movement throughout the draft that we haven't seen as much recently. So I think it could be pretty interesting. And we're going into the first summer with the true implications of the new CBA.
Yeah.
And we're going to see how people adjust to that.
True.
And so I think those two driving forces could make it pretty interesting.
True. And we'll talk about it way more, but looking ahead, correct me if I'm wrong, is Paul George the biggest free agent since Kevin Durant? Like true free agent?
I'd have to look back on that.
Right? Like I don't think we've had a free agent of Paul George's caliber since Durant and Irving.
Yeah, I can't think of one really. I mean, Kyrie was like kind of a free agent, but he chose not to opt out in that Brooklyn year. But other than that, it's really been
I think since Kyrie and Durant signed with Brooklyn, I don't think we've had a free agent of Paul George's caliber be a true unrestricted free agent.
Yeah. No, I think you're probably right on that. And a couple teams have cap space.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what happens to the Clippers if they lose?
Yep, one team
Paul
behind me has a
George.
lot of cap space. All right.
I mean, James Harden is a free agent. He was arguably better than Paul George in their first round series against the Mavericks. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that could happen this offseason. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Catch you guys on Thursday. Peace.